Well, have you found yourself maybe sniffling, sneezing, coughing, eyes are watering and all that? Well, it is the allergy season, and at least we're getting into it. And I'm delighted to have back in the studio with us Dr. Joel Klein. He's with Ventana Wellness, and he's a cool dude. I like this guy a lot.
Thank you.
And listen, allergies, you know, I used to be an allergy sufferer, but you know, I discovered something, doctor, and you probably will jump up and down and go, hooray. If I back off on sugar, I don't get allergies. Now,
Yeah.
what's the connection?
Well, you know, the thing with allergies is, you know, there is a genetic component to them. But as in everything else, and we've talked about, every time there's a genetic component, there's a contributing factor. And really, diet and foods play a significant role in the allergy component. The sugar issue may be due to overgrowth of bad bacteria and yeast in the gut, which then will actually trigger allergies in that component. A lot of people, it turns out that the airborne allergies, even if they go to the allergist and get tested and they have, let's say, well, mold I'll deal with separately, but the pollens and the grasses and all that, I find that those allergies are a lot of times downstream effects of the food allergies. And people get, again, broken record, but they get off gluten or they get off dairy and their airborne allergies get better.
Wow.
A lot of the time, but the sugar issue has to do with issues with the bacteria in the gut.
Well, I was getting like a candida in the sinus.
Right.
It was a yeast infection in the sinus, and it was sugar based.
Right.
And once I controlled that, I cleared up.
Right, because yeast have to feed on sugar.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the yeast issue is a big one. And then a lot of people will come and they say, well, I didn't test out for anything except for molds. Well, guess what's growing in your sinuses and in your gut? Molds. And then we live in a much wetter climate here. I'm just starting to learn. I was working with a doctor in Colorado who is really good on this, but I'm sure people have more mold issues in their houses and these kind of things that are driving things as well.
All right. Let me say to our listeners and viewers, you're more than welcome to join us. The phone number is 776-5368. Dr. Joel Klein is going to be with us for a couple of segments here, and it's your opportunity to talk to him about allergies. All right. Most people now are sneezing and because of the blooming going on and stuff like that.
Right.
How do you, are you tested for that? What do you do?
If you have simple allergies that are controlled with over-the-counter medications or even sometimes the prescription ones, you don't necessarily need to go through testing if you can control them. If people are out of control, because part of the point is if you're going to test for, if you're going to get rid of the pet, it turns out it's the pet, which wouldn't be seasonal. It would be all year long. Yeah. If you're going to do something drastic or be so severe you have to go on allergy shots, then it's worth getting the testing. But otherwise, all that we're really going to have initially is the superficial treatment, which can work for most people. And again, a lot of people can get relief with the over-the-counter medications, and they're not that bad. There's really no harm to the over-the-counter medications, except if people have blood pressure or men with prostate problems really should not be taking a decongestant. Really should just be taking a pure antihistamine. And if there's a question with the prescription, or even with the over-the-counter, they might have to check with the pharmacist if they're not sure. But really, it's really for the testing is when your life is affected by it, or all the treatments are not working, and you're looking at more aggressive therapy.
Well, some people are miserable. I mean, their eyes water. I mean, it's a miserable time. Right. Is there anything proactive they can do going into a season?
Yes, well, sometimes you can, if you just start the antihistamine medicines a couple of weeks before you know it's going to start, that will work. There are a couple of natural remedies that if people are interested in that, I will start them, but again, work best if you start them a couple weeks before you know your allergies are going to bloom. The ones that I like the most, it's called a flavonoid called quercetin, Quercetin, vitamin C, a lot of people know about, and the herb stinging nettles. Can be effective for people in helping control the allergies. These stabilize the allergy cells, but again, once the symptoms are there, it's harder to get them under control. It's better, yes, if you could start a couple weeks before the allergy season.
What is an allergy?
It's an immune response. And there are actually 4 types of allergy I learned about 34 years ago, and they only treat one of them. And the other 3 are actually what cause inflammation. So it's an antibody response. So your body, you produce a particular kind of antibody against the protein that's in whatever it is, whether it's pollen or these types of things, or dust mites, those kind of things. And then that antibody activation then triggers the release of histamine from white blood cells. So this is all immunology, but again, we've learned that immunology a lot of times is related to food and food issues. And I just saw on Friday, I get this monthly periodical from the American Academy of Family Physicians, and right there, no news to me, they're saying, children that get antibiotics are showing more food allergies. Well, the alternative doctors have known this for decades, and I think the conventional community is just coming around to realizing what's happening with that, because the antibiotics are changing the environment in the gut, and a lot of these immune reactions start in the gastrointestinal tract.
Wow, so a lot of these shots these kids supposedly have to get create that.
No, I think that's very controversial as to whether overloading antigens in very young children predispose. Actually, it may be more autoimmune issues than allergy. We're still not sure about that, but it's more the antibiotics that they're getting, and usually they're getting the antibiotics because they have a hidden food allergy, typically to cow's milk, that's not being picked up, that's causing the recurrent tonsillitis, ear infection, and sinus infections type of thing, and then the recurrent antibiotics for those infections are then disturbing the environment in the gut, creating this cascading effect where other foods start to react.
Wow. Okay, well, we're talking about allergies today, and if you have any questions for Dr. Klein, give us a call, 776-5368, or toll free if you're outside the immediate area, 1-800-373-5368. One way to talk the doc and not pay for it. We'll take the call, okay? 776-5368. Allergies is the topic today. Now, some people will go get tested. I had it done one time where they kind of scratch your back and all that. What is that?
Well, initially they're looking, they do the scratch test first because if you have any violent responses, that's a screen for doing them. The real way is they do the scratch test first, and then what allergists do is, it depends on the allergist, but the best way to do it is this intradermal, where they got to put a little tiny bit of the protein under your skin with a needle. So it's multiple sticks, and they lay them out on a grid, typically on your arm. And then they're looking for this, what's called a type 1 hypersensitivity response. It's one of the four, which is a histamine reaction within 15 to 20 minutes, that the injection of that protein into your body stimulates the antibody that's in there, and then that activates these white blood cells to release histamine.
Is there any natural way of treating these things?
That's the thing. I think elimination diet. And those, there are a number of products that are out there, but I say the quercetin, vitamin C, stinging nettles. One nutritional company has an extract of perilla seed that's used. So there are a number of different ways. B vitamins also seem to help a lot of people. Really? So just kind of a general, but usually more acutely, the higher dose vitamin C, as long as it's not giving you diarrhea, along with those things are so
a B and a C are still the good ones, huh?
Those are what get depleted in stress, and here we are again.
All right. Let's go to the phone. Hi, Pat. Oh, wrong. We got Richard wants to know about, is it poison oak? Richard?
Yeah. Yes. My question is, why does my wife get poison oak so severely, and she just barely even be around it, and yet I can just almost wade through it and not get it at all?
That one's a genetic issue. That's people who are more sensitive genetically to this compound called urushiol that's in poison oak, poison ivy, and that's a delayed hypersensitivity response, one of the other three that, as you recall, shows up 1 to 2 days later. And that's a different type of lymphocyte response, but that mostly is based on genetics as far as we can tell.
Okay. Thanks, Richard. Okay, let's go to Donna. Let's see if I can get Donna on here. Donna, you have a question about local honey. Well, there you go.
I do. Dr. Klein, you are my doctor.
Oh, good.
And but we've always heard that local honey, and this helped David, reacts or helps get rid of the local stuff with the airborne allergies.
Not sure about that, but I would be careful again because of the sugar issue, as Perry mentioned before. Not familiar with that, not saying it's not true. Whether, again, because you're using local antigens to make the bees, or using that to make the honey. Maybe there's like a homeopathic effect where you're getting inoculated with a small amount of the protein. So theoretically, I could think that would be so. But I would be cautious about using large amounts of honey as an allergy treatment.
Well, I think what he did was like just a teaspoon a day, and way before the allergy season, like start using it every day
for
a year or whatever.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds like a way to inoculate yourself. So theoretically, I think that could be possible. If it's just a teaspoon a day, it's not going to hurt. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
You know, I've heard of that. People who, and I was an old 4-H'er and I raised bees, and so I was kind of into all of that. And from the royal jelly to the pollen to the honey, and it is a collaboration of all of the various plants that are in the area. So it is a way
because they're sampling everything, and it's like that is kind of like the way allergy shots work, because they're giving you a very small amount of the antigen so that your body builds up a different type of antibody that actually is protective, so that when you're exposed to the protein, the protective antibodies come in and wash it out before the reactive antibodies can get to it. So I think theoretically it can hurt. And if it works for you, great. I hadn't heard that before, but it makes sense.
Especially if you have honey from outside the country. Now, I have been a consumer of the Manuka honey out of New Zealand, and the big label says, be careful, because if you're allergy prone, those plants may give you a reaction.
Maybe, although if you're using it for the first time, usually you have to be exposed to something the first time you get exposed, then you can develop the antibodies. So if it's the very first time you're using it, you wouldn't have an allergy, but then I guess anytime after that, it would be possible if this is a new protein for you.
Dr. Joe Klein's with us talking about allergies. If you have any questions, 776-5368 or toll free 1-800-373-5368. We'll be right back. Okay, we're talking allergies with Dr. Joe Klein. He's with Ventana Wellness, and taking your calls. The phone number is 776-5368 or toll free outside the immediate area at 1-800-373-5368. All right, doctor, let's go to Ruth. And Ruth, you have a question about diabetics and aspartame, is that right?
Yes. My husband has just started liking yogurt, and the doctor suggested yogurt, but we're wondering if the yogurt that he's eating that has aspartame is okay for him to consume.
It's okay. I really don't like aspartame. There's chemical reasons. There's some people who are sensitive to it. Can even turn into methanol in the body, which people who are old enough will remember is wood alcohol. So it's okay. Certainly as a diabetic, he doesn't need the sugar. So, and typically, although a lot of people have dairy allergies, especially in a diabetic who, because they have sugar issues, may be more prone to growing mold in the gut and in the sinuses, yogurt and cottage cheese, which are cultured with bacteria, not fermented with molds, are better tolerated for people. So I would say that that's okay, like everything else in moderation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Hi, Diane. You don't like yellow jackets.
Yes. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I've been gone for 25 years. I was raised in Klamath Falls. I've moved back. I had asthma when I was young, and I moved away, and most of my symptoms left me. I came back. I started having asthma again. Don't know if it's my relatives or just me and the blooms, but then I got stung by a yellow jacket. The first time it was a sting, but the second time my skin actually boiled and it looked like I got burnt, and I'm getting scared, and I wonder what's happening.
Well, again, you do have some allergy proneness that has been reactivated with whatever proteins are here that weren't where you moved. So your system's already a little bit more activated. Now, again, whether foods are playing a role with that. If you had asthma as a child, my experience is, again, dairy allergies, sometimes gluten play a role with that, and again, the antibiotics. But the first time you're subjected to the protein, you don't get the same response. So the first time you get stung, though, your body produced these reactive antibodies, so that the second time the reaction is much worse. And that will continue to get worse. So I would look at getting one of those EpiPens for an emergency reaction to a bee sting. If it's really bad, the allergist can put people on allergy shots for bee stings. That's obviously a big undertaking to do that, but it certainly would be worthwhile to have the prescription EpiPen that you can activate to keep you from going into a severe asthma attack that could be dangerous from the next bee sting.
Thank you.
Okay. What is it about yellow jackets? Why are they so deadly?
Oh, any of them, the Hymenoptera, any of the bee species. So it can be wasps, yellow jackets. There is I don't know the specifics, but there's a protein in the venom that, again, will cause an immune reaction in the body.
Wow. All right, let's go back to a statement you said earlier that sometimes these allergies are activated because of food allergies.
Right.
A plant allergy becomes more active with a food allergy. How do you test people for food allergies?
We take them off the foods and see how they do. The problem is, you can do skin testing for food allergies. I believe that there are certain ways that needs to be done. The doctor that I work with in Colorado would do the skin testing and then actually have people call the next day for this delayed response. So what I alluded to of these 4 types of allergy, only the type 1 is the histamine response that we're all familiar with. You have types 2, 3, and 4, which are delayed reactions that cause inflammation. So he would have the patients call the next day as to which reactions got larger. There's blood testing, again, for the immediate allergy, what's called RAS testing. That can give you some indication, but the problem is the kind of allergies I'm talking about of the food allergies are more the delayed reactions that are causing inflammation that people may not even have any gastrointestinal or other symptoms from, but what happens is down the line, they wind up with asthma, eczema, migraines, arthritis, menstrual problems in women, all of these delayed inflammatory reactions that can be the food. So if I have somebody and they have a history where, yes, I got a lot of antibiotics, or there was a stressful period of time, or their diet is not really great, I typically do what I call the Casablanca approach, which those of us of a certain age will remember the climactic scene in Casablanca when Louis, the police chief, says, round up the usual suspects. And we go with gluten, dairy, corn, and soy as the biggest ones. These are the foods that you're eating the most of, more than 3 to 4 times a week, are unfortunately the ones that you're most likely to be allergic to, and those are the ones people are eating more of.
Well, the whole gluten thing is really remarkable because within the last several years, it's showing up on menus now, gluten-free. Right. So what is it about gluten?
That the public is demanding because they're finding out gluten is not inherently a problem. There may be issues, but what we found out, and even this was published by researchers at my medical school in 2009 in Scientific American, that the celiac disease, that's even testable by a blood test, so the severe gluten reaction is 30 to 50 times more common than doctors had believed. They found that positive antibody in 1 in 133 healthy people. And what I will tell you from my kind of practice is I find out that for every positive blood tester, I'll find 3 to 4 people whose blood test is negative and they still feel better when they stop the gluten. It may be the monocultures of wheat that are being raised, and certainly, again, what we're all doing to our gastrointestinal tracts with diet, stress, and environmental toxins, under which the worst ones are actually antibiotics, and birth control pills in women actually worsen the gut issues as well.
Corn, you mentioned corn.
Yes.
Mold? Is that what it is, or what is it?
It's probably the corn itself. It may be. Molds can be an issue with it because things are getting involved, but corn itself can be very allergenic. There are people who believe that the mound-building Indians of the plains perished because they started adopting the corn-eating culture of the Central American Indians, and genetically they weren't adapted to it. So if I have people of Hispanic lineage who have some Central American Indian blood, so they're darker, shorter rather than the European, I say they're probably genetically okay with corn because those people did fine with it. Everybody else, Europeans, I'm a little bit suspect. It's just a common allergen.
Wow. All right, and dairy. Dairy is the next big thing.
Right.
You're seeing more and more people change their dairy habits.
Yes, and dairy is another big one because we use so much of it. Now, the folks in India, the natural health people will say, well, it's because of what we do to the milk. We kill it. After you pasteurize it and the proteins break apart and you drink it cold out of the refrigerator, they will say, well, it's indigestible. If you would take it out of the cow and boil it for 5 minutes with some digestive spices like we've been doing for 5,000 years, you wouldn't have a problem. And this even goes beyond antibiotics and hormone issues. This is just strictly the cow's milk, and it's the casein protein in the cow's milk that seems to be the bad actor. So children that have cow's milk allergies sometimes can do well with goat's milk because it doesn't have the casein. And I had an example in my own family where I was able pretty much to save my great niece from a lifetime of grief by convincing her grandmother to take her off the cow's milk and switch it to goat's milk.
Wow. Now, you say all that to say that if you are suffering with those kind of allergies, say some kind of a food allergy, it heightens the response to perhaps a plant allergy.
I think it actually causes them. or at least really makes them a
sick.
problem. Yeah, and it's so that the food allergy, what's going on in the gut a lot of times is the first domino in the chain that starts this reaction, and then the airborne allergies are actually farther down that chain in a lot of people. So there are a lot of people that I find this out accidentally. Let's say I'm treating them for another medical problem where there's a food allergy that we've discovered really makes that symptom worse. And let's say they only have seasonal allergies. And then after a year of doing this, it doesn't usually happen immediately. They'll invariably come in and go, this is the best allergy season I've had in 20 years. And I'm not really treating the allergies, we're removing the foods for the other problem.
What is it about nuts that make people react?
Another common protein that just seems to be more reactive in the body. I'm sure an immunologist can tell us a little bit more in detail, but there are proteins, as we know nuts are a source of protein.
Yeah.
And it's proteins that cause the reaction, and there just seems to be one in nuts that causes a more common reaction.
The reason I asked that, my sister didn't know she had that problem. She ate a pistachio one day and ended up in the hospital a couple hours later.
Yeah, and anaphylactic reactions, the serious ones that cause the lungs to close up and you go into shock, are unpredictable. That's part of the problem.
All right, we're going to run out of time here, but you're saying some obvious remedies, increase vitamin C?
Yep, vitamin C in higher doses can help.
Okay, such as?
Well, some people would say take it to bowel tolerance. You keep increasing till you get diarrhea and back off. I think a few thousand milligrams a day can be helpful there. Again, these supplements that you'll find in the vitamin stores of quercetin, you can find herb stinging nettles or other. Sometimes some companies actually put them together as an allergy combination for things. Like I said, the food allergies, if you're suffering now, getting rid of gluten and dairy may not show a positive response till next year.
Okay.
Worth doing, but maybe won't give you an immediate response. And again, the over-the-counter antihistamines are fine. I really have no problem with them causing any kind of long-term damage and worry about suppressing symptoms that you're causing another problem. They're fairly innocent medicines. If those aren't working or too sedating, yes, certainly we have the prescription
You
ones.
mentioned B, super B. I thought B was for nerves.
It's for everything. So stress depletes B vitamins, period. So, and B vitamins are crucial in innumerable body reactions. Yes, neurotransmitter metabolism, Bs play a big role, but they really play a role in many, many, many processes. And again, they're depleted in stress. So
can you OD on B?
You can. Certain ones, they've shown that high doses of vitamin B6 can actually cause nerve damage. This was done because everybody was taking megadoses back in the 70s.
Right.
So that's the main one that there can be a problem. Most of them not. But again, too much of a good thing. If you just keep loading them, then that's not helping. But B6 is the main one that we know about.
Well, you're a delight. Thank you. And again, I just want to let people know that Dr. Klein is at Ventana Wellness Clinic, and you can call Ventana Wellness and make an appointment. Of course, he's so popular now from being on the Dove, he's booked out.
That's it. Everybody listens to the Dove.
But no, you can call and get in and call him over. Thanks for coming in, man.
Great. Thanks,
Good to
Perry.
see you.
Always love it.
All right, blessings. We'll be right back.
Thanks.